Ukuthwasa means the state of a mediumistic, slight trance state, but in which things show up, you know about things, you have precognitive dreams and the like. We continue. She greets you all at this conference. Thank the conference organizer for allowing me the opportunity to participate as a learner and by sharing my phenomenological experience of how it feels when one has such a mystical gift. Kamahu means a ritual greeting, like amen in the Christian church. Kamahu means greeting to all ancestors gathered here with us. It's a pity I seem to miss most of the presentation due to language barriers. Yes, going on. About her identity. She was born in a strong Christian family, in the Methodist Church, but in both lineages, and this is considered important in Bantu culture, paternal and maternal family lineages, they were traditional healers, and it's considered a gift that is also inherited. And her late grandmother was a healer and practicer, as much as she was a Christian, a leader of a women's group. This was not allowed at the time, but she did it. And then Mlisa reports she graduated as a teacher, qualified nurse, psychiatric and community nursing, and then clinical psychologist for more at 10 years, I may add, at the University of Fort Hare. She's a theologian graduate with the honors degree in 2000 and qualified trained traditional health practitioner since 1999, and the founder of a spiritual church as advised through a dream, 2001. She writes, I have been gifted with strong dreams, amatongo, at 7 years old, and those dreams are still clear in my mind as if I dreamed them the previous night. I was teased by siblings and called Joseph. This means I actually accepted living in these different worldviews, and I'm always surprised about whom I am in many instances. I live in the Eastern Cape province, South Africa, and as history reveals, a province that was grossly afflicted by all the isms of colonialism, apartheid, and so on and so on. She is a Ukuthwasa with her tribe, the tribe of Nelson Mandela, but the tribe has issues in retaining its tradition right. To go on, contextualizing, it is well known that African religious traditions were not acknowledged and accepted as it is today. It was a taboo in her younger days, but now she can stand as an educated person in public and claim to be a traditional healer. She writes about the encounter, the ambivalence about the encounter between Africa and Europe and Christianity, and also the ambivalence in Africans themselves. Hence, Africans are almost all cultures that were undermined, exploited, nearly destroyed, now feel an immense sense of urgency to self-actualize and to return to the cultural roots, to decolonize the atrocity caused by the West. Ukuthwasa, the state of mediumistic trance, also undergone such experience to the extent that even though it was ultimately given acknowledgement and recognition by the turn of the 1990s, traditional health practitioners are still struggling to be fully recognized and registered as counterparts such as medical doctors. Continue. Just to mention, the traditional health practitioners were called by derogatory names such as witch doctors, and Ukuthwasa was perceived as paganism or heathenism, or to add in psychiatry as a form of schizophrenia. Hatred was sown by Africans to give negative names to each other. Now, my discussion therefore focuses on the following issue to explain what Umbilini intuition is and why it is a key mystical experience that is used by traditional health practitioners in Ukuthwasa esoteric tradition. To give a brief view on Ukuthwasa process and its stages. The main focus is on Ukuthwasa amongst the Xhosa tradition. A few examples are discussed to reflect on how Umbilini is used in the Xhosa divination system. Lastly, to address the consequences of the mystical experience and how the gifted person behaves and is also perceived by others. In my conclusion, a brief summary on similarities in certain esoteric cultural traditions that I visited and read about is explained. In addition, an emphasis is made on the reality of Umbilini and a request for its inclusion in educational curriculum so that everybody should pay attention to their intuitive senses. The method of choice is narrative approach on the qualitative research that she did in her doctorate in 2005. Methodology is embedded in document analysis and autoethnography with 101 participants. And the life stories of 5 senior traditional health practitioners were also used and qualified the information gathered during the interviews. The healers in Xhosa tradition are called the Amaqira, a term similar to shamans in America or other cultural traditions. In addition, wide literature review was done. The research was about the training of traditional health practitioners and the construction of the healing identities. The main aim of that research was to do a critical reflection on the Ukuthwasa journey, the whole long process, as I had graduated as a healer in 2000. A lot of introspection and depth understanding was needed. Yes. Now she goes to a review of these things. And the general gift of a certain degree of mediumism that probably many people have, and what is and how to realize it, and what distinguishes these special healers they do. She also refers traditional healers use Umbilini in their intuition, in their assessment, diagnosis, and treatment therapeutic regime. They use no other tools like bone throwing as most other cultures, which means the also tradition, the oracle bones are not used so much. They rely more on intuition. They do not use X-rays as medical doctors, but through the spiritual eye see the layers of the body and are able to diagnose even heart disease. Hence, Umbilini is reviewed less as a mystical experience in the divination system. The bodies became the physical barometers to sense the nature and elements of the universe around them, or to add also the affliction of a patient that might come to them. Yes, go on. The next slide, please. Следующий ссылки. Yes. Umbilini is not tapped from a cognitive belief that the ancestors would assist the knowledge from Umbilini is immediately and directly informed by bodily presence manifested in traditional healers from below. The information comes spontaneously, and healers believe that they have used all 5 senses to smell, to see, to touch, to hear, and to see that this is not pathological hallucination, then to taste, that is to interpret and translate the information from the supernatural to the client. In most instances, the sense of smell is like that of sight. For instance, if a healer dreams about a patient coming for assessment and the client actually arrives, then that healer has smelled or sensed the client's problem. This resonates with Sinclair's argument based the confirmation by intuition can use sensory channels as well as those of non-effective confirmation. Also, Carl Gustav Jung asserts that intuition is channeled through archetypes. But however, here is important that the different senses are also included in the mediumistic and intuitive perception, like smelling out something or hearing something. The experience and strength of Umbilini is continuously grounded from the ritual space or the sacred space of healing when ancestors are involved. They are called then. Umbilini then ascends the awareness in the body present. This is why healers are able to inform a client of the problem without questioning the client, like psychotherapists or medical doctors do. The effectiveness of Umbilini can be related to Victor Turner's explanation of linking the transference of this information from ancestors to the healing body. Turner was a noted anthropologist who did field work in Zambia and increasingly acknowledged the reality of this different world and world perception that he encountered with his the tribe and the people that he studied. Jung relates this, links it to the collective unconscious, but we know about the ambivalences of this. Right. Go on to the next. Can you maybe magnify it a bit? It's very small. The Xhosa healers do not evoke Umbilini through dancing or ingestion of certain rules like healers from others. They just burn an incense in pepo. This is a then a well-informed information comes to you. You just have to tell the person, oh, it's smaller. It's how it comes. A healer trusts his ancestral wisdom and body feelings. Then after imparting this wisdom, it's time for the person and the healer to reflect on the implications of this with the client. Through Umbilini, the consultation between the healer and the client reveals many factors: personal, individual, matters, family, work, and so on. The healer is able to predict the past, predict the past, current, and future life of the clients. It does not mean that the healers can say or perceive everything about the client. They just predict certain factors that are going on, but not necessarily everything. It may be selective. Or it means that the healer is not one acknowledged by the Would it mean that healer is not one acknowledged by the ancestors to make a revelation for the client? Is a stage a trustworthy and honest healer explains to the client a reference to another healer? If a healer comes to his limits, then say go to this or that healer or diviner who maybe have other gifts that are complement. At times a healer may give information and may not be given a mandate by the ancestors to go further on with the treatment regime. I've also heard this is normal and refer to another healers or what is needed. At times, a healer may not even be allowed to mentor or initiate the client and refer to another one. The healer may be shown to a consulting healer may be also shown. What is needed is honesty to avoid the ancestral wrath and punishment to the healer, which means very much to respect the boundaries that are given in a certain situation. Living in different worlds and world riddled with diverse atrocities is challenging to anyone gifted with mystical experiences and powers such as Umbilini. As already explained, Umbilini makes the body's healer to be like a barometer, and one senses all the challenges before they happen. And when they happen, and what is still to happen. Mysteriously enough, some of these don't even occur in one's family, but affect the whole country. The painful part of it in my phenomenological experience is that at the time the information does not come in a straightforward manner. It is hidden. That's the worst part, as a person keeps wondering where to place the information. Like sensed in the body, like bodily pain or something. The body and soul remains unsettled until the information is revealed and correctly placed. For example, in 2003, I had a dream about a white guy wearing elephant regalia, and he was like, he was the head of correctional service. His face was not very clearly able to identify. He seemed depressed. And there are many documents printed in a printing machine. They were like in newspapers. She wondered what the dream meant, and in the morning, she sat down with the church leader and related the dream. He laughed and said, Mama, you're in trouble. Your spirits are too high and your body absorbs everything happening in the universe. Let us wait and see. And so continue to pray. And the following day, the Daily Dispatch newspaper, there were news about the minister in the correctional services being demoted. The answer to my dream was revealed. Then she reports about a world visit to India, Oneness University, and the first night she sent a strong spiritual presence of spiritual movement. And she reports that she tends to sense people's negative or positive body sensations. Then when she finally fell asleep, she was like a door opening and there was a mysterious movement and a faint noise. Yes, I can't exactly locate what she's reporting here. Let us go on to the next. She reports of not being able to breathe and was scared, and the noise was there. I suddenly felt warm, the whole of my back and muscle giggling and continued for some time. She was praying, and then she was praying then, and somebody report that she must have had a sense of intuitive abilities, and more would be coming up. Let's go to the next. One step back, so yes, okay. Going on furthermore to the next. Now, she reports about the similarities and differences in different esoteric traditions. She refers to the Witchcraft Act that was where it was forbidden and espoused, and this Witchcraft Act is still present in some countries. Then Ukuthwasa follows most principles of any didactic process. It has entrance requirements, assessments, evaluation, including similar instruction theories like simulation, problem solving, method, trial and error, and many others used in the teaching of professional qualifications. Umbilini is embraced by disciplines. The difference is in terminology and language used, as in psychology too, different terminologies. Represent similar to the gut feelings in Europe. She tries to relate this to European traditions. Let's go on to the next. Now she resorts to Carl Gustav Jung and his understanding. We know, I may add personally, that we all are aware that Carl Gustav Jung did his doctorate on the psychological processes related to mediumistic practices, to transitions, mediumistic sessions that he studied, because Jung's parents on both sides, especially on his father's side, his mother's side, were also clairvoyant and engaged in mystical practices in seance sessions with connecting to spirit entities. So Jung studied this, and he therefore paved the way for the study of these things. She also is I'm always amused by Christian churches undermining traditional practices. And the last point, while colonies in South Africa undermined Ukuthwasa, today many white Sangomas, such as Dr. Klein's presentation shows, have paved a fertile ground, a strong fundamental background to my presentation, make it more understandable to those. Continue to the next slide. She feels proud to be in Ikmicha, traditional health irrespective of her Christian background. Yes, she since that before she had developed this, she did not feel fully mature. And she states, esoteric tradition like Ukuthwasa and the mystic experience like Umbilini, my own, are here to stay, and they are a reality. And interesting enough, scientists, religious men, Christians, when things do not go well in life, they seek assistance, protection, and guidance from the very pagans, heathens, and witches called traditional health practitioners. They come to our ancestral space at night in big Mercedes. We can help them. Amahu. A bit of irony. Thank you so much. And this is it. Yes, and now we'll gladly take questions if necessary. He's muted it.
Dr. Mlisa and you. So we all would like to thank Dr. Mlisa and you, Dr. Kleinhempel, for this presentation. We would like you to pass our greetings, our thanks to Dr. Mlisa, first of all, but we can also have some questions which you could answer, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
My question is the first one, I believe, and I think that Dr. Mlisa has stressed in her presentation the opposition and the conflicts between the traditional churches and the traditional health specialists and the conventional health specialists, as I can put it this way. But my question was concerned with the opposition between two approaches in psychiatry, which started in the beginning of the century and is lasting until now, the psychopharmacology versus psychotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the conventional health specialists are the fans of psychopharmacology nowadays. Do they have some sort of conflict with the traditional specialists and those who prefer psychotherapy?
Yes, I can put this into context with maybe fully answering the question. The first is that in the World Health Organization explicitly recognizes certain conditions and healing procedures that are not based in Western scientific tradition. This is very important politically, to open a space for other worldviews, perceptions, and forms of even of divination. This secures this political space and also discursive space. The second point is as to Christianity, about 30 to 40% of South African Christianity are syncretistic African Christian churches. They are Christian, but they have adopted traditional divination as a form of prophecy. They relate to the diviner stories of the Old Testament that say there it is in the Old Testament already, and we renew this gift also in the New Testament, and we have prophets, diviners, and so on. And I've experienced this visiting such churches in Nigeria and also South Africa, that they do proper divination in the context of Christianity. So this is an ongoing process of integration into Christianity. As to the psychiatry community, there are strong ideological battles fought out. The state of mediumistic calling is called Ukuthwasa, when certain dreams appear or strange occurrences or bodily sensations and so on. It weakens a person and it opens a new space. Now in Cape Town, University of Cape Town, there are psychiatrists who treat this as hereditary schizophrenia, and they lock persons up in psychiatric wards. Whereas the traditional resolution, if somebody has a condition of Ukuthwasa, it is required to either reject this call ritually because one cannot afford it to disrupt life, to enter into a long year's training and so on, or one is afraid of it or whatever there is. But if one accepts it, then one has to undergo the long and arduous training. It is a vocation. And if this shows up, this is only resolved and the person enters into a new state of well-being after the resolution of and development of this mediumistic gift. If it is not accepted, then it is said a person will remain harmed in a certain way, like someone who lost a partner and would never grieve about it. Then there remains a wound. So this calling has its own demands, and to re-diagnose it as a form of schizophrenia does not solve it, but it freezes the patient or the person with such a condition in a state of alleged schizophrenia without being able to resolve it. So you can see how turf wars, ideological wars, are fought at the expense of those who have this condition instead of engaging with it. So there are basically two approaches in South African psychiatry: the one of accepting these things as complementary and interacting with the psychological conditions, and the other rationalistic approach that says it's all construction and imagination and delusion and whatever, and has to be treated with medicine or whatever. This is ongoing.
Right. Thank you. Thank you much.
I must briefly add that Nomfundo Mlisa's dissertation is accessible online. It's on the server, I think, of the University of Free State, for anyone interested.
Right. It's very useful. Thank you.
Thank you.
As we have no questions more, we would like to thank you again and to thank Dr. Mlisa in absentia. And so that's it.
Thank you very much.